How significant this big jump then in jobless claims for the month of April, the January to March unemployment numbers looking a little backward looking, but maybe that April number gives us a bit better idea of what to expect for the second quarter.
Yeah, unfortunately so. I mean, the UK unemployment number for March, on the face of it, looks quite good. In fact, it points to a really strong start for the UK economy for the even for the first 3 weeks of March before we locked down. But the more important indication comes through in April and that big increase in jobless claims. And why I think that's particularly important is because we obviously have the job retention scheme, and we're all hoping that that will prevent a huge spike in unemployment such as we've seen elsewhere. But this increase in claims tells us that not every employer has decided to furlough workers. Some employers have just decided to let people go instead. And of course, that can increase over time as stresses on companies increase and the lockdown persists. So it is worrying. And other data in April as well, big fall in the number of vacancies and a fallback in pay growth, which I think, can only intensify given that the job retention scheme means that even if you are employed, chances are you've taken a pay cut to 80% or some other level of your normal pay.
80% would be fantastic. Here in Germany, I think it's 65%. So in that sense, your social safety net is stronger than ours. Liz, it looks like this conservative government seems to be doing a lot in terms of social safety net. Is there more that you think this government could do right now?
It's tough. I think you're right. The measures have been generous, and I think that hopefully they will stand the UK in good stead when we come out of the lockdown. They are starting to work after, some of them had a bit of a slow start, but they are starting to come through. In terms of what more needs to be done, it's hard because we're kind of in this suspended animation right now. The economy is artificially shut down, and we don't know what it does when we take the brakes off. Perhaps that's the time when you need further action, is when we see, how the economy responds to lockdown being lifted. Is there going to be a big slump in demand? Will nobody rejoin their gym or go back out to the bars and restaurants or return to their normal life? If that is the case, then that perhaps is when the government does need to come in. If it is safe to encourage people back out in the economy and spending money, then maybe they do need to do more at that point. But we just don't know that yet. And I think we're still in this suspended animation, and perhaps the government will wait to take stock because the measures that they have announced are eye-wateringly expensive. And, we now expect the budget deficit to be 13% of GDP this year, government debt well above 100%. So, to announce more now, I think, when actually the goal is not to get people back out spending money might be a bit premature.
Let me ask you about where unemployment peaks then, Liz, because I've seen talk in the US of 25% unemployment rate. In the UK, before these numbers came out this morning, I should say, I was looking at some estimates that seemed to mention numbers like 7, 9, 10% unemployment from various banks or other institutions. That's a big difference, isn't it? What is, do you think, going to be the peak unemployment rate for the UK?
Yeah, we're in that camp as well. I think we have a peak of 7.2% at the end of this year. And it comes down partially to classification. So the job retention scheme in the UK, if you're furloughed, you're counted as employed, whereas in the US, I think you would be counted as temporarily laid off. So that makes a big difference for the numbers, and it's why our unemployment charts won't look quite so dramatic as the US ones, even though perhaps it's indicating something similar going on underneath. But look, 7.2 is on the low end of the range of estimates. The Bank of England in their scenario had, I think, 9%. And the worry is, as I say, that we come back out of lockdown and, the job retention scheme expires and companies find they just cannot keep people on. So then you get the spike and maybe at that point, our 7.2 starts to look optimistic.